Hi, everyone. I'm Paul with MadCap Software. Welcome to the second video in our series on micro content in MadCap Flare. In this one, we're going to go through the different methods for creating micro content. And so here's what's ahead. We're going to begin with the micro content file. You have to have these things within your micro content file. And what I mean by things is phrases and responses. That's what I was talking about in the first video. It begins with that. You got a phrase that goes with a response, another phrase that goes with a response. So we'll go into the editor and we'll look at these phrases. There are some important things to understand about those. And then the rest of the video is going to be split up into these sections on these 4 different methods for creating your micro content. All right, let's go. Got this little sample Flare project open, and this project just happens to be about dogs because I'm a dog guy. And you want to begin with your micro content file. And so that is going to be stored here in resources. At least this is the place where we recommend you store it, along with all your other resource files, images and snippets and styles and stuff, things like that. And we recommend that you create a folder if Flare doesn't end up creating one for you, called micro content, spelled like that. And this is where we will put our micro content files. And you see that I already have some set up in here. I've got 6 micro content files, and each one of these is filled with micro content phrases and responses. So to create a new one, I'm just going to right click this, select new, and there it is, micro content. And you're probably just going to select that factory template and give it a name. I'm going to call it micro content file. Not going to do anything with this one. It's just to show you the creation of it. So you create it and it's added here, and the editor opens up here, and it gives you a phrase and a corresponding response right out of the box, just something to start with. And you can change this or delete it or whatever you want. And we're not even going to use this micro content file in this video series. We're just going to kind of ignore this. I'll close it out. But looking over on the left at all the others, it makes you wonder, okay, how many micro content files do I need? That depends. You might just have one. You might just have one, or you might have a whole bunch. I started out when we first released the micro content feature. I started out and created 3 of them, and I'm now up to 9, and that's in one product. Okay, and it's really up to you. How do you want to organize things? You're going to find that you've got different kinds of micro content for different purposes. And I would highly recommend that you create separate micro content files for those instead of lumping it all together. And you're going to see in the videos coming why that's such a good idea, because it's going to make it easy for you to play traffic cop and direct the micro content where you want it to go. So you just make the decision. You know, you'll probably start out with a few, and then it'll grow from there like it did for me. You won't have it all figured out right away. The thing's just going to grow over time. Now let's spend a little time talking about phrases in one of these micro content files. I'm going to open up this other micro content file. So this one is just kind of holding some miscellaneous things, whereas these others are more specific, holding, information about breeds of dogs or authors who might be writing in this project. Okay, so this one opens, and you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 phrases in here. And as I click on a phrase, the response over on the right changes. That phrase goes with that response. That phrase goes with that response, and so on. So you get your own toolbar, first of all, with this phrase grid. I'm just going to expand this a little bit so we can see it all. And going from left to right, this one is going to let you create a brand new phrase, in addition to the other ones like this. And I just add new phrase, and you type whatever you want for that phrase. You might be creating phrases like that, but in the last method I'm going to talk about in this video, you're actually going to create this from the topic. So it kind of depends. Then there are alternate phrases. Okay. I don't know if I've got any in here. I'm going to expand this to see all. No, I don't. But like company information, let's say that I wanted an alternate phrase because let's say somebody searched for company information. Great, this thing comes up. But if they typed in, I don't know, contact, because they want to be able to contact the company. If they typed in contact and you didn't have this alternate phrase, this thing wouldn't come up. So you can add a whole bunch of alternate phrases, and they all kind of carry equal weight in here. So you're just covering your bases, that if somebody searches for something, that the right stuff is going to come up. And this is one of the reasons why I emphasize analytics. If you are looking at how people are using your output, you might be surprised at the things that they're searching for, and you go, oh, I already have micro content for that. I just need to add an alternate phrase. And then we're going to talk about linking things to phrases as opposed to entering them directly in here. So you can link, and this thing will let you unlink. You can delete phrases, and some of these are over here on the rows themselves, like the trash can and the alternate phrase. You can do that right from here, and you can expand and collapse these things. All right. So you can add variables into phrases, and you can click this to see the definitions versus the syntax. And then you can open up properties for these phrases. We will be doing that later on. You can do that, or you can right click and select it, and right click and select some of these other things in here. So if I open up the properties, you're going to see there's different tabs in here: phrase properties, meta tags, and condition text, and these things that are used for single sourcing. We will be going and looking at some of these. And then you can go between custom sortings, or as you're adding things in here, you might add something and it's not exactly alphabetical, or you could force it to be alphabetized in here. Now, that's just for you to see, to work with these and see. And you can, click on things and move them up and down if you are in custom sorting like that. Put things in the order that you want, and expand and collapse. And then you can put conditions on these micro content phrases too, in addition to putting conditions on, all these other things that are in your product, in your project. A few tips for phrases. One is you're looking at these, and some of them are just one word or two words, and then this one is a question in here, and you might be wondering, all right, how exact do these need to be to somebody searching? Well, they don't have to be completely exact. For example, this has the words dog breeds in there, and if somebody searched for dog breeds, chances are this will come up. And it'll skip, just ignore certain words, stop words like are or the, things like that. So you actually don't even need to put those words in here. And then stemming. So let's say that I had a phrase in here called training dogs. Well, somebody could just look for trained dogs, and that's good. That's good enough. So it doesn't have to be exactly a match. Getting it close, the algorithm is going to make sure. It depends on the algorithm, and if it's close enough according to the algorithm, it's going to come up. There is no way to predict this other than just going through and testing, which you should do anyway. You should test your micro content after you've got it in place, and build your output and do searches and see. Search rankings. So how does the search algorithm do that? What does it consider for search rankings? Well, in your regular topic. In your regular content, there's these different search, this different criteria, like if the term is in a heading, or it's got an index keywords and how many times the phrase appears in the content. When it comes to micro content, it's not even going to consider your response over here. It's not even going to look at this stuff. It's all about your phrases and alternate phrases. So if I've got this phrase dog breeding here, and this is the response that goes with it, if I don't have dog breeding anywhere else, this is going to come up. But let's say that I have a bunch of alternate phrases for other things, and I just happen to, within those alternate phrases, I'm using the terms dog breeding, that other thing might come up instead of this one. And so one of the things that you can do to boost your search results, you can add alternate phrases and just kind of repeat the terms so that you control one thing coming up over another. And then there are synonyms. Flare has had synonyms for a really long time, a couple of different kinds of synonyms, group synonyms and directional synonyms. And if you have those set up, Flare will take that into consideration when searches are done, right? So if somebody isn't using the exact phrase or alternate phrasing you have in here, but you have synonyms set up, it'll point it to the right thing. So synonyms will help. And then, like I said before, analytics. Use analytics. It's better to let your audience tell you what you should be creating micro content for. I'm not saying don't create micro content proactively. You should. I do. As you're creating, you go, oh, this might be a good piece of micro content, create it. But really rely on your analytics to help you decide what phrases and what things you're going to create micro content for. Okay, so let's start talking about this response side now that we've covered phrases. And I am going to open one of these other micro content files, and I've got a bunch of micro content in here about breeds of dogs. All right. And the first method you can use to create micro content is to, first of all, add your phrase in here. So we don't have one here yet on Australian Shepherds. So I am going to just type that and press enter, and it goes up to the top because I'm sorting alphabetically. And the first way that you can create micro content is to simply click over here in this editor, which is a lot like the regular XML editor. It's just not as heavy duty. It doesn't have as many things in it. And I could just type Australian Shepherds and then just start, typing content in here. And you get all of these toolbar options, just like you do in the XML editor for things that we think, all right, a lot of people might want to create links or insert images or variables, all these things. So that's very similar, as are these things down here at the bottom. So you can do that. You can use this editor, which is my least favorite way of adding content in here. You would think, well, that's a great way to do it. It's really quick. You look what you did. Well, first of all, there are some things that you can't do in here. For example, I like to use responsive layouts, and you can see the option right there. We're going to talk about that in a bit. I can't really work with the responsive layout in here. The other thing is, chances are you're creating micro content for information that's already in your project, and you want to be single sourcing. You don't want to be creating it here and somewhere else. So the better thing to do is to leverage what you've already done. Okay, and so that is something that these next three methods are going to allow you to do. So you can use this method, and it's very quick, very easy, but chances are you're going to want to use one of the other three methods. The next method is to link directly to a topic or a snippet that you already have. So I created Australian Shepherd here. And if I come over to my Content Explorer, you can see I already have content on Australian Shepherd. So I can link just to that topic. And what you can do is expand this, and it has this add link thing here, and you click that, and you go find what you want, click OK, and there it is. So this area up here lets you know, all right, you can't edit in here directly anymore. It's sort of like when you insert a snippet into a topic, you can't do that because it's linked. You would have to either remove the link or open the topic. And one of the things you can do with linked topics or snippets is you can right-click it and you can remove the link and convert it to text if for some reason you need to. You could choose a different link, or you could open the link. All right, so there is my topic. All right, so that is an easy thing to do. The only thing about, not the only thing, but the main consideration here is linking to an entire topic. That might be too much content for micro content. Usually micro content needs to be relatively short, although there are some times when, some micro content's just going to be longer than others. You can only make it so brief, but a lot of topics are just going to be too much. So you just have to make that decision. Is it too much or is it not? And the other thing that you can do is link not only to topics, but to snippets. And let's go check this out. I have a snippet here on training, on introducing a new puppy. All right. And so I can go to other, and I could create a new micro content phrase in here. Actually, I have this one that I'm not using yet. So let's go in here and let's just say new puppy. That's my phrase. So you don't have to type entire sentences or questions. It can be a single word. In fact, your analytics is going to let you know that a lot of times that's what people do. They'll just put in 1 or 2 words. So new puppy, I don't have anything over here. I can do a couple of different things here. I could just click and drag, and now I'm linking to that. And that's one of my dogs, by the way. That's important information you need to know. The thing about dragging it in like that is it allows you to then press enter, and you can add more information in here directly if you want. And the other way to do this is just the same way that I linked to that topic, is you can click add link and then go find that snippet, and it's right there. And it's so the difference here is there isn't any room. You can't type above it or below it. It's just all there. All right, so the snippet method, I do use that occasionally. I definitely do. There's some instances where that works well. I'm going to build the output so we can see what's going on here in the output. So I will use that, but it's not the main method that I use. That's coming up. What we're going to do is generate this output, and we're going to do searches and see what these look like in the output. So it's all done. I'm going to double click this, drag it over here. That's another one of my dogs. More information you need to know. And let's say, all right, Australian. Well, I could have just typed Australian. Let's do shepherd. It's close enough. And the micro content comes up. In this case, it's a featured snippet. It's right up here at the top. So it's an entire topic. And because a featured snippet by default is going to show in truncated view, you get this drop down when it runs out of room. Of course, you can adjust the amount of room in your skin. You can make it taller if you want, but if it can't show it all in that space, people will click that to collapse or expand it. The nice thing about linking to a topic is you get a link to the full topic. So in this case, though, we're linking to the whole thing. So you're not going to get any additional information. It's all pretty much there. Let's search for new puppy, which was the other thing we did when we linked to a snippet. And there it is. All right, same thing, featured snippet at the top, a little bit too tall in here, but that's okay. collapse or expand that. The thing about linking to a snippet is you don't get that link to the full topic because a snippet could be in many topics and Flare wouldn't know which one to put here. So that's just something to consider with linking to snippets. A third method that you can use is to link not to a full topic, but to a bookmark within it. So you're only getting part of that topic. So I'm actually going to open this link because I know there is one in this. Oh, well, that's actually a snippet. Let me go over here, training tips. I know that's where it is. Let's get a little more space here. So there is that content. Actually, I'm not using the snippet there, but that is the same content as the snippet. And then you got this section on dog play, and you got this section on biting and nipping. Maybe we're interested in making this section on dog play a piece of micro content. And I want to link to that. I don't want to show the stuff up above. So you can do that. I'm going to come back to this micro content file, and I'll add a phrase in here called dog play, right? And expand this, and I'll click add link. And this time, oh, it shifted there. Okay. All right. So I need to point to that topic, which is right here, but I don't want the full topic. So I can link to a bookmark. Now I don't have a bookmark in there yet, but the nice thing about Flare is it lets you create one on the fly. See, I don't have any, but I know I've got a heading in here, and I can insert the bookmark at the same time as I'm creating the link to it. And you can see all the other things, you know, elements where you could create bookmarks as well. So I'll click OK, and save this. Let's go back to it. There it is. And you can see it linked to dog play. And you probably already know the problem with this one. This is a good method to use if you have content that is at the bottom of the topic and it's just there. But the problem is, not only did it get dog play, but it got this biting and nipping section, which we didn't want. So that's what you want to consider with linking to a bookmark. So depending on your content, this may or may not be a good method for you to use. So one last method, and this is the one I use most of the time. I'll create the micro content, not starting from the editor, the micro content editor, but in the topic itself. And that way I can pinpoint exactly what I want. I kind of get the best of all worlds. So unless I have a good reason to do something else, this is what I normally do. All right, so I've got this section in here introducing a new puppy, and I know I already have a snippet for it. Just pretend that doesn't exist, because usually if I've got a snippet, I'm going to use the snippet content, but we'll pretend that doesn't exist. And I want this to be the micro content, just this, the introducing a new puppy, the paragraph, the image. And a lot of people see this and they want to know, well, how'd you get the image over there on the right? Well, there's different ways to do this. And I do like to use this kind of structure for micro content. I like to include a visual element if I can, if I find that it's helpful. This particular one that you're seeing right here, this is done with a float. So the image is inserted in here. And if you go into the image properties, you should see let's see, the position. Yeah, so I'm positioning this to the right, you know, and I've got these other settings in here. So it is floating to the right. But what I usually do, actually, what I like to do more is to use what's called a responsive layout, which I kind of pointed to before. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this. I actually have a whole other video on responsive layouts, and it'll tell you all about it, but I'll create one real quickly for you and talk through it, because I just want to show you that it's cool and is good for this kind of thing. The thing about responsive layouts is, depending on the size of the screen that you're looking at, the information will flip. So think of it as like a one-row table with, you know, however many cells you want. In this case, I want 2 cells, one to hold the text on the left, one to hold the image on the right. And you create these different layouts. And I already have a couple created in here, and you see these numbers, they always add up to 12 if you're doing it right. And that tells you how much space is on the left cell and how much space is on the right cell. So I'm going to insert one that's 8-4, meaning 2/3 of the space is on the left. And I'll click that and insert it. And you see I get these two cells like that. So it's like a table, but it's not exactly. And this one is set up so that once I get down into, say, the mobile view, the image is going to flip underneath the text. So that's really nice. I'm going to close this to get more room. And I'm going to copy, I just want to copy my content into this cell, and then I'll get rid of the other one. So I got my heading there, and I will copy my paragraph, right? And I'll paste that after. And then I'm just going to delete these down here. You can see that bookmark that was created on the fly, by the way, and delete the image. It's going to leave me with an empty image. And I'm going to drag my image. It's this one here. It's not a real great name for the image, but works. Put it right there. And so I could do different formatting for this. I could center that or whatever I wanted to do, but I've created this structure here, which is really nice. So this is using what's called Zurb Foundation behind the scenes. Some people ask about Flexbox. It's just a different method. It's actually newer, and you can use Flexbox, but the Flare UI doesn't, support it. I don't know how it will look in the editor, but if you know what you're doing behind the scenes, you can work in the text editor and create the CSS, and you can do that. Okay, so that's a lot just to get this to this point of creating the micro content, but I wanted to show you this, that responsive layouts can be really nice to display this. So I have this structure over here, my H2 and my paragraph in here because I'm clicking in this cell. And then I've got a div and another div. These are just containers, these div tags. And I'm going to right click. You can, if you wanted to, like I could just select a paragraph or a paragraph in a list, and I could go to home and select create micro content. I could do that. I tend to like to use the structure bars. So I'll go to the outermost structure bar where I've got my content, right click it and select create micro content. And now I'm going to create my phrase at this point, and I'm going to call it new puppy. Now I already have that other one in there. Let's actually, before we do this, let's go get rid of this one. And I'm going to right click this, create micro content, new puppy, because that's the phrase I want to use. Now, because I have more than one micro content file, I have to tell Flare, where do you want to put this? I want to put it in this other micro content file, and click OK. It opens up that micro content file, and you can see I'm linked to that. And you see the # and micro content 1, that's my ID. And I can save, it's linked here. I go back to my topic, and you can see what happened was it added this extra tag in here, this micro content tag. And so this is what I do. And it's very, very fast to create micro content like this. And so now if I generate this output, you're going to see it is giving you the best of all worlds. By the way, sometimes speaking of those div tags, sometimes I will create micro content. I like to use the div tags, especially if I've got different, elements, a heading and paragraph and, bulleted list, something like that. You can select that and go to the home ribbon, select this, and create a div tab. It just div tag. It just wraps things in there. And it just kind of is nice because then I just have to work with that one tag over there and create my micro content. It's just something that I do, but you don't have to do that. All right, so it created the output. Let me drag it over here again. And let's get this maximized. And let's search for new puppy. Or I could have just searched for puppy. And there it is, right? Similar as before. But the thing is, I'm pinpointing a part of my topic, just that middle part that has this content. And I also get the link to the full topic. So somebody goes, oh, I want to know more. And they click that, and now they get the full topic. So that is the method that I recommend, that I use myself most. So that's going to do it for this movie. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start moving into some of the other videos where we're going to start directing this stuff into these different containers, using them, and we'll go through a bunch of examples.